Despite claiming everything is fair game, the NFL defines itself as an entertainment business rather than just a sport, meaning they are more focused on keeping you entertained than they are keeping the competition fair. And whether it's true or not, the referees this season have been pushing an agenda. But you see, I think I have the solution to fix it. So to do so, let's start back at the beginning of the season. This year has been riddled with terrible officiating starting all the way back in week 1. The NFL season's first game started off with a banger between the Lions and the Chiefs. The Lions shocked the NFL world and beat Patrick Mahomes and the reigning champs in Arrowhead. But what stood out was not the Lions' great play, it was Chiefs tackle Jawan Taylor, who was cheating nearly the whole game and getting away with it. Taylor was matched up with Aiden Hutchinson, who was causing absolute chaos in the backfield. But the issue here was that Taylor false started nearly every single play of the game, and it was only called once. Play after play, Taylor left the line of scrimmage early to get a jump on Hutchinson. This is very illegal, but the refs, they didn't call anything. Now, this is a technique that has been used the past few years, but Taylor took this to an extreme, kicking his foot early nearly every single play. Everyone was catching on, even the announcers.
You see Jawan Taylor playing slot receiver finally got busted on one.
Now, although they lost, the missed calls kept the Chiefs alive all night. It makes sense for the NFL to want their star QB and the reigning Super Bowl champions to continue their success, especially if the script says their Hall of Fame tight end is going to go start dating the most famous woman in the world. And that's not the only time this has happened to the Chiefs throughout this season. They get the benefit of the doubt in nearly every game they play. Let's fast forward to week 5, where Minnesota Vikings fans were left absolutely speechless after their loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it was a heartbreaker that came down to the final snap, but what really left these fans livid was the referees down the stretch, trailing 27-20 with just under 5 minutes left and facing 4th and 12. Kirk Cousins took a shot to rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison in the end zone. Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed clearly impeded Addison's attempt at a catch, and the ref closest to the play threw the flag for pass interference.
And interference call is on the way against Sneed. You can't believe it.
There is no foul for pass interference.
This penalty would have given the Vikings the football on the 1-yard line with a chance to tie the game. However, the refs got together and reversed the call, giving the ball back to the Chiefs. To make matters worse, Snead took his helmet off to argue with the referees on the field. By rule, that's an automatic penalty. Now, this wouldn't have given Minnesota the first down, but the Chiefs would have been pushed back to start their next drive. However, the refs, they just shockingly looked at Snead and politely asked him to put his helmet back on, giving him a second chance. This was the second week in a row the Chiefs had been bailed out by referees late in the game. And when you think about it, outside of the Chiefs being the face of the NFL and reigning Super Bowl champs, it makes clear sense why the NFL would want to be helping them. The NFL, like we said, is an entertainment-based company. And the Swifties, well, they're the biggest market in the world. Once Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce started dating, NFL viewership, particularly in teen girls, spiked more than 53%. The collective growth resulted in an approximate viewership increase of more than 2 million female viewers. This is huge money for the NFL and its new audience of women who weren't particularly interested in previous games. And all of these new viewers, well, they have the same favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. So do you think the NFL would want their brand new fan to have a heartbreaking late game penalty be the reason they lose their first game as a fan? Not at all. They want to reel these viewers in. They want to hook them. And the best way to do so is a winning team. Now let's catch back up here in real time for a second. And make sure you're subscribed, because I'll be posting here weekly, and I guarantee that I'll be exposing all the biggest secrets in all the biggest sports leagues. Now, through both of the games that we've discussed, you see a common theme. The refs are bad and they're used as pawns. Now, this is a super meta way to look at it, but we have seen this in professional sports. Look at referee Tim Donaghy in the NBA. Donaghy got involved with the mob in 2005. He began betting on games, and when he's in need of extra cash, he would manipulate games to ensure that his bets hit. He was paid $2,000 for each correct selection that he recommended to the mob, and eventually he was arrested for his role in the cheating scandal. After he got out of jail, he went on a press tour snitching on NBA refs, even going as far as saying that refs will target particular players that they don't like. He said that him and his crew once targeted Allen Iverson and made him foul out. He even went on to explain that the NBA would use refs like Scott Foster as pawns to extend good playoff series. Donaghy has said multiple times that this is still happening today and says there are still refs throwing games. So why couldn't something like this happen in the NFL? Well, I think to understand whether or not it could, we need to look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm a Dolphins fan and may have some bias on the atrocity that I saw in week 7 in Philadelphia. But besides the fact that the Dolphins lost, this was a catastrophically poor performance from the officiating officiating crew. There was a total of 15 missed calls on the Eagles alone. The Eagles favored the Dolphins 10-0 in calls against. The issue started in the first quarter. Christian Wilkins was called for a roughing the passer on Jalen Hurts. Now this was a third down, and the flag came in after they did not get the first. Obviously Wilkins shouldn't have touched him at all, but this is a tough call in a critical moment of a game. The next miss came on the very next Dolphins third down. Tua dropped back to pass and delivered a strike to Braxton Berrios, who was clearly knocked down before the pass even got to him. This one was shocking. It was the most blatant pass interference I have ever seen, and I couldn't even find a replay of it online because the NFL didn't even show a replay on their broadcast. Luckily, I was at the game and saw with my own 2 eyes. The Dolphins then forced a stop and got the ball back, and on fourth down, they took a shot to Cedric Wilson. Wilson was clearly face masked as he is attempting to catch it back shoulder, and again, no call was made. You also can't forget the numerous blatant holds made by the Eagles O-line that night, like this one where linebacker David Long nearly gets his head ripped off. Or maybe we should talk about this one where Lane Johnson is clearly grabbing Jalen Phillips on a sack. This game was decided on the last play, where it was a clear hold by corner Eli Ricks on Tyreek Hill. But probably the worst miss of the night was here on the interception to lose the game by the Dolphins. Raheem Mostert clearly gets knocked down as Slay comes to pick it off. Now this would be a bit of a ticky-tacky call, but here's what Coach Mike McDaniel had to say about it.
I was hoping Raheem could step back and make a play on the ball. He had an issue doing so with apparently what was legal contact down the field. So.
And we also can't forget that their coach, Nick Sirianni, was seen giving thumbs up to the refs like all night and had them over in his pocket on nearly every possession. I've truly never seen a more rigged football game in my entire life. Even the Eagles fans around me were very confused. Now again, I am a Dolphins fan, so I'm a bit biased on that one. But then I watched the Bills play in Philadelphia, a team that I openly do not like, and it may have been even worse. The ref in charge of the officiating crew that night was Dwayne Hayden. Could be saying that name wrong, I'm sorry. Now, he grew up just north of Philadelphia and was the direct source of several missed calls. These were bad misses too. One of the most egregious missed calls happened late in the second quarter. Eagles linebacker Hassan Reddick ripped Bills quarterback Josh Allen's jersey literally down the seam in an attempt to sack him. Reddick was somehow not called for a horse collar. Instead, Allen was actually slapped with an intentional grounding penalty, which left all the fans in the stadium shocked. Even former NFL referee Gene Sarator, who typically sides with his former referee colleagues, posted on Twitter saying, "If the quarterback is in the pocket, there cannot be a penalty for a horse collar tackle. However, once he leaves the pocket, he is offered that protection." Josh Allen was out of the pocket, so there should have been a foul on this play. And a few minutes earlier, Eagles cornerback Darius Slay actually tackled wide receiver Trent Sherfield before the ball got there. And like in the Dolphins game, no flag was thrown. Obviously, this was a great game. It went to overtime, and with the game on the line, Josh Allen looks for his wide receiver Stephon Diggs, whose jersey is visibly being grabbed by Darius Slay. And again, no penalty called at all. These pivotal missed calls changed the entire course of the game. When Bills head coach Sean McDermott was asked about the officiating, he gave a brief non-answer saying, "Nah, I'm not going there." The officiating in this league for teams to follow the NFL's agenda is just honestly out of hand. We have lost the integrity of the game that we love because of this. And last week, it wasn't even just the Eagles. Wide receiver Tank Dell and the Texans were robbed of the game after refs somehow called this an incomplete pass when you could clearly see Tank get both feet in bounds. This would lose the Texans the game and help the Jaguars come out unscathed. Now, I'm not sitting here entirely believing that the NFL is this rigged, but what I am saying is something needs to be changed. I think the best solution is to hold the refs accountable like we hold the players. Let the media come at them, and how about the NFL issue some punishments? If the refs had hit a post-game press conference with like 100 cameras pointing at them after blowing a call in a playoff game, I guarantee that there'd be a higher level of competency in the NFL. And if we're going to be fining players now for routine hits, I think it's time to fine or suspend a ref who is openly missing calls over and over again. Now, if you agree, let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit subscribe because more videos like this will be coming weekly.